I'm calling this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Finance, Administration, and Communications Committee of the whole of the Redmond City Council. Can we, is there an echo here? Maybe someone logged on here? Potentially. Okay, we're all right. Good. All council members are in attendance. We have 8 items on our agenda today. The first item is the UKG Pro Extension, additional launch support, and I'll turn it over to our TIS Director, Mike Marchand, to kick us off.
Good afternoon, Council. I will hand this over to Courtney Miller, our project manager, to introduce this item.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. My name is Courtney Miller. I am a technology project manager, and I'm here today to provide background and seek approval at the March 17th regular business meeting of a project change order for Workforce Management Phase 2. For background, in 2023, the city started the BTIP project Workforce Management Phase 2, continuing the transition to UKG platforms already in use for timekeeping, which was implemented in May 2021. The original plan was to implement the UKG Ready product. However, during implementation, the team identified significant concerns, including the product's planned sunset and compatibility limitations with the existing timekeeping system due to UKG's redesign. So during Q2, Q3 of 2024, the team evaluated the city's requirements and decided to shift the implementation from UKG Ready to UKG Pro. UKG Pro implementation began in November 2024. It will bring a modern human resource information system to the city, strengthening operational efficiency, expanding employee self-service capabilities, and ensuring a secure, reliable platform. Excuse me. This contract extension will provide continued UKG support while we refine payroll processes, re-engage city project resources, and ensure system readiness for launch. The extension specifically provides the following. It extends our existing assigned UKG resources through April 2026 and allows for UKG resource support through launch by October 2026. The extension is a flat rate contract by period, October 2025 through April 2026, then with monthly amounts billed as consumed beyond April 2026. These funds are included in the 25-26 BTIP budget. So we are seeking council approval at the March 17th regular business meeting, a minimum $150,000 with a maximum of $225,000 if implementation extends to October 2026.
Thank you so much. So as noted, the proposal would be to put this on the March 17th consent agenda. Are there questions from the council? I'm not seeing any. Thank you for that very comprehensive review. Are there any concerns about putting this on the consent agenda on March 17th? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the adoption of an ordinance for the 2025 to 2026 budget adjustment number 5. And we have our Finance Director, Kelly Cochran, here to introduce this item. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council. This is the 5th budget adjustment that we are submitting for your consideration, and I'm going to hand it off to Haley Zurcher, who is our financial planning manager responsible for the development, monitoring, and adjusting of the city's budget.
All right, good afternoon, Council. Since this is our first budget adjustment with some new faces at the table, I just wanted to take a quick second and give you a brief overview of why we would and when we bring budget adjustments forward. So whenever the city's total budget changes, we seek council approval and an ordinance is required. So in instances where that happens is when we are transferring funds from one fund to another, when we're recognizing new revenue, whether that be through grants or reimbursements, and then the addition of a CIP project into the CIP. So even if we've already explained to you all the CIP project that's getting added, if it hasn't been brought forward as a budget adjustment in another touch point, then we'll bring it forward this way. So today we just have a very brief budget adjustment. It's really just cleanup items. We are recognizing revenues and reimbursement, or recognizing some revenues mostly through grants and through reimbursements, and then adding the old firehouse building demo to the CIP. You've already been briefed on the actual project. We're just adding it into the plan now. And then transferring funds from the utilities over to information technology for a BTIP project that has also already been briefed to you all. So any questions?
Are there questions from the council? Councilmember Soni.
Just this question out of curiosity, it's like, being fairly new in this, how often these changes are happening, like, with the budget changes, like, do they happen very regularly and are we also anticipating any more changes that will come?
That's a great question. We do try to bring these quarterly, so we get budget changes into our office all the time, and so we try to compile all of them and bring them forward to you all quarterly. So we are expecting, you've already seen several grants this year that obviously didn't make it onto this one, so we'll have another one in order to allocate that revenue. So we definitely will. We're aiming for probably in June or July for the next one, but we do try to do it regularly so we can stay on track.
Thank you so much. And just to reiterate, the items that are on here are items that previously came before council for decisions. This is just adjusting our budget to be able to match those decisions within our budget.
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful. Well, seeing no other questions, is there any objection to putting this on the March 17th consent agenda? Great. Well, let's plan to do that. And I think you may be sticking with us. I don't know if you will for the next agenda. I know we do have Director Cochran with us for the next item, which is the capital project bond reimbursement resolution. If you end up wanting to discuss about both this item and the next one, feel free to bring those together, or we can look at them separately as you prefer.
Okay, thank you very much. With me, I have Adam O'Sullivan. He is responsible for managing the city's debt portfolio, so he helps us with the issuance of bonds as well as our biannual payments and the repayment of bonds when we have the ability to do so. He handles all of our annual reporting and is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to debt issuance. The first ordinance, or resolution that's in front of you, is the reimbursement resolution. This is a resolution, again, that's a follow-up to the study session conversation on 2/24. This resolution allows the city to reimburse ourselves for expenditures that we have made using our own cash with bond proceeds if and when we issue them. It does not obligate us to issue the debt. It does not obligate us to issue a certain amount of debt. It does not obligate us to stick with the projects that are identified. It purely claims that we have a plan in place. That plan may include bonds, and if we issue bonds, we would want to be able to reimburse ourselves. What that does is it helps us to ensure that there is a healthy cash flow towards the end of the 6-year period, sort of when we plan to issue the bonds, and keeps a lot of other projects and programs going. If we didn't if we didn't pass the reimbursement resolution, what it would look like then is when we issue bonds, we would only issue it for the amount that is remaining on the projects that we have to finish, so not reimbursing ourselves, and that would then impact some projects that we either wouldn't be able to fund or not be able to fund in that time frame. It is an IRS obligation. This is not something that is specific in the city's fiscal policies. This is an IRS requirement, and we have a bond team that helps guide our actions. The city has a financial advisor as well as bond counsel, and we have prepared this material with the assistance of our bond counsel.
Thank you. And so the proposal would be to put this on the upcoming business meeting consent agenda. Are there questions from the council? Council President Stewart.
Sure, I'll kick us off. Thank you so much for bringing this back. Really appreciate it. We have in front of us here this list of projects that is the inspiration for this action today. And what I was most curious about, one of the things we discussed a couple weeks ago was how, in fact, modest the proposed strategy is. So we have an amount here that is not to exceed $60,000. And, excuse me, 60 million.
Like, oh
Thank you
gosh,
so
did I
much.
forget a zero
60 million,
again?
excuse me.
Definitely a mistake.
My mistake. I just want to interrogate this a little bit because in our experience with some large capital projects over the last few years, we have seen the price tag change as we go. And on one of the major projects we have coming up, we know what design process we are using. With another, we don't. And anyway, there's just so much uncertainty. This is really modest. Is there a compelling reason to increase this number by, 10 million more, or to give us a little wiggle room? Would that save us paperwork later if we were to make that decision? Is kind of the question I'm coming to.
Thank you, and I appreciate the question. Right now, I'm estimating about 51 million needed, so I've already kind of added a little bit of a cushion in there. And you're right, there is a lot of unknowns. There are things, projects that we may not even know about yet. We certainly can bump it up. It doesn't harm anything. We also can bring a new reimbursement resolution forward, either at the timing of the CIP that council has had a chance to review or as part of the budget adoption. We can certainly update the document if we find that we want to be more aggressive with our planning.
Thank you. Actually, I'll just ask a quick follow-up question on that. So it sounds like this, and I think just for the listening public, if you want to hear the deep dive discussion we had on that, we had a study session on this in late February where you can watch where we discussed for this topic for over an hour and kind of got a lot of discussion on this. But, part of this, my understanding from that discussion was that that this is also going to help you to do the budgeting for our CIP for this upcoming time, is knowing that you have this assurance of kind of this as the floor for us in terms of capacity. So I'm hearing from you that we might pass this, but then as we start to develop an even clearer picture of what we want in the CIP, because I think my concern is also that we haven't yet had all the discussions about our CIP for the upcoming time. So we could issue another resolution like this to update our intent.
We can. There is a lot of decisions coming in front of council within the next few months with a lot of projects that are in development and moving quickly. And, as those decisions are made, if they impact this, we can update it at any time. I really do believe that this would be sufficient. I wouldn't want to issue, honestly, more debt than this. It becomes very difficult for us to put together a debt service package, meaning sort of the funding to pay the bonds without really impacting cash flow in the CIP. So this is kind of my comfort range without really impacting future projects and programs. I wouldn't want to go over this amount without discussions with council and understanding those impacts.
Thank you. And to clarify for the listening public, this list kind of gives us the opportunity to bond for any one of these projects. It doesn't mean we'll bond for all of these projects.
That's correct. And there's also language that says it may not be any of these projects. It might be something just within the systems for transportation, parks, or facilities.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? All right, I'll ask one more, and in case anyone gets a question, just one more clarifying question. Is this, what is there's no particular date that is listed here in terms of how the length of time within the resolution that this is bound by? Is it bound by a certain amount of time that this exists for?
It's not. I actually put one in place once in like 2009, and we didn't do anything ever.
Okay, great.
Still could.
Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
Thank you, Myron. Just a quick comment, Director, and that was to thank you for having that deeper dive with us back in February, I believe it was the 24th, so that then this process today could go smoothly. You did this during the first time that I experienced your budget process, where you do the deep dive, we get to do this, so then subsequent steps go much smoother, so thank you for that.
You're welcome, and I will, work harder to make sure that you actually have even more time in the future to make these big decisions.
Council President Stewart?
Yeah, thank you. Just back to the comments on amount of debt issuance that we're comfortable with and on all of that. So in our last conversation, we did discuss what the thresholds are at the city. This is, I believe, about 4%, or the amount that was proposed is actually about 4% of that overall allowance. Some back of the napkin math I did a couple of days ago. Anyway, it is modest, and so we are being comfortable, and I appreciate all of that. A couple of the questions that actually came up from the chair in our last conversation is there was interest in helping the council learn more about debt ratios that might be helpful in this guidance and all of that, and if that could just come via email, that would be perfectly fine.
It
Thanks.
can, thank you, and I'm working on that information. I can tell you that, the city of Seattle is almost at $1 billion worth of debt. Bellevue, Kirkland are more in alignment with us, and between about 50 and 100 million. So, but I'm working on some more holistic information. Some of them make it hard to find. You're welcome.
Thank you. So seeing no other questions, is there any objection to putting this on the March 17th consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll plan to see that on the consent agenda, and we'll move on to the next item, which is the capital project bond debt redemption resolution.
That's correct. So we, as discussed at the same study session, we have two bond series 2015 and 2016, that became callable in December of 2025. And we have recommended that we call those bonds and start moving through the process to pay that off. So this redemption resolution is required again from the IRS statutes. It gets posted on a site that Adam works to keep updated to let our bondholders know that we may and will be moving through the process to redeem those bonds, and then we go through those payments. I don't think at this time that there is a budget adjustment necessary, but we may find as we try to work through those transactions that we'll need to bring something forward. Again, a reminder, the funding sources that we're using for this, for Series 2015, it is business tax, and that's about $6.93 million. The 2015 series, we are using transportation impact fees, which we are working hard to spend down, and that is about $3.6 million, so $10.5 million in total.
Can you remind us, just since not everyone tuned into that deep study session, of the estimated savings that we anticipate by calling these bonds sooner?
Sure. $1.4 million in interest.
Great, thank you so much. Questions from the council? Council President.
Sure, I'll ask a scheduling question. When do we expect to execute on this, and how will the council be notified of its completion?
So we've requested that we put the resolution on consent, and then there is the posting on Emma, which I believe has a certain time frame that we need to. Do you know what the time frame is? I think it's 30 days, but we will follow up where we need to let the bondholders know. In between that time, we'll be working with our financial advisor just to get the transaction taken care of, and we will notify council a couple of ways. You'll likely see the payments in the check register to know that we're done, but we can certainly also notify council. You'll see it in some of our quarterly reports as well. It'll hit our books. So we'll keep you updated when that happens.
Thank you. Any other questions? And I'll just note, I think, as you mentioned, not only will this help us to save on interest, but the funding sources are ones that have particular restrictions on how they can be spent, and these are purposes that they can be spent for, and they also have certain time periods by which we need to spend them. So it seems like there's a lot of benefits to doing this now, which is why I'm happy to put this on consent. Is there any objection to putting this on consent on March 17th? All right. Well, seeing none, we'll plan to put that on consent. Thank you so much. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is also yours. It's the 2027 to 2028 budget process update.
Yes.
Go ahead, Director Cochran.
Thank you very much. I've put a packet of information together for council to that provides some slides that show you sort of overall what our budget process looks like, as well as the different touch points that we will have with council along the way. The first slide that you'll see in that packet lets you know sort of what is happening through each one of our milestones. And so early in the year is when we are setting all of our internal rates, so fleet rates, insurance rates. We're working through the development of the costing of our FTEs or our staff, which is about 80% of our budget. Also doing preliminary forecasting to help us understand the capital program, the BTIP program, and what our general fund and utility forecasts look like to kind of give us some guardrails for how we move through the process. Right now, we are also starting on the funding for the rest of the capital program. So having council's direction on both the debt issuance as well as redeeming the bonds sort of gives me the foundation now that we can build the rest of the CIP around. And we'll be bringing those to council a little later than normal. We typically like to get the business technology projects as well as the capital investment projects in front of council in the June-July timeframe. This budget process, we've moved that to September in order to allow for staff to focus on World Cup events during that time. We are also starting then on one of the first things that we do with the departments, which is sort of establishing what their new baseline budget is. And so staff are actively working on that now. Their baseline budgets, we do what are called budget plans or budget offers within the budget, and we tend to keep those same each biennium as long as the services are still relevant. And so we just reset those baselines to include the escalated costs for employees, any contracts we know that are going to change, and we have documentation of that. And then we'll roll over any service enhancements that they just have not completed yet. But we will still continue to report out those milestone or progress on those service enhancement with you. We do have department presentations coming soon. They're starting at the end of March. The first department to provide an overview will be our Parks and Recreation department. There will be more of a focus on performance measures than there was in the prior biennium. And this is where you will receive your next update on the one-time service enhancements that were funded as part of this biennium. We gave you an update in November of sort of what it looked like, midpoint. You'll receive an update basically of what we expect to get done in this biennium and what may roll over. So from there, that's we'll kind of keep moving on. But any questions about budget process? I have not yet had a chance to meet with new council members, so this will be one of the first things we talk about, as well as my next subject, which is the long-range financial strategy. But any questions on the budget process before I move on?
Any questions? I guess I'll just ask one quick question here, which is that I just want to note, even though we do budgeting by priorities, we are going to be getting departmental budget overviews even, and so I guess one of the things that would be helpful will be, and I imagine we'll have this, is when we have those departmental overviews, since many of those departments will have offers and budget within the different
Yep.
priorities, that we just kind of make that clear, so that way we kind of can map that back to what we'll see in the end budget.
Yes, we will provide you a crosswalk of how the departments, all of the programs and services that we have get dispersed among the different budget plans. We do assign the budget plan to whoever really kind of has the lead or the most invested in a plan to speak on behalf of the whole program, but we'll make sure that you know holistically who's involved in delivering that service to the community.
Go ahead. Council President Stewart.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to ask about community engagement and involvement. We've had a couple touches, so we know there's a consultant at work. I am interested in hearing updated thoughts on the community results team, and I do see that we're not going to get an update on that until May, but that kind of looks like answers from them, and I am curious about what is the process toward building that. And on our approved calendar that we approved last week, nice job, Council, for the calendar, it does say that this process kicks off in March. So if there's anything you can share about how this is going.
We will be providing an update at the April FAC on all components of community engagement, just because we've had some ebbs and flows in our planning, and I want to make sure it's clear of what's happening with the community results team. Our public hearings, our questionnaire, as well as other opportunities that we have for the community to get involved. So April, you'll see an update of what our plans are. Excuse me, we're hoping in May to June you'll be receiving the report back of what we learned with working with the community results team. So we will give you an overview of the plan and then follow up with the work from the community results team.
Thank you. And is the call for openings on the community results team still open? Can people still apply for that? I had a couple conversations with community members, but I hadn't seen the open call. I just might have missed it on the channel.
The consultant that we're working with has a sort of a preferred method to pulling together focus groups to make sure that we've got sort of an unbiased, holistic, well-rounded, equitable group of participants. But we are sharing with the consultant folks that have reached out and wanted to be involved, and we're working through that to make sure that people have the opportunity. So we didn't put out a call this year just because we're using a focus group format, and we want to make sure, again, that the feedback that we're receiving is sort of unbiased.
Thank you. I will look forward to seeing that at FAC next month, and being able to understand the groups. I think if you can bring to us the groups that we are going to be engaging, and how we know that we're not missing any important voices at the table, because we do sometimes get people that we might not have expected if we put out an open call. So I can see that that's a change, although in the past sometimes we get the same people. So it is great to be able to reach out and kind of reach beyond. So I'd love to hear how we are using this new method to reach even more people.
Sure. We'll be happy to. This is, this as a reminder, this is not really a new method. It's just every once in a while we kind of like to take a step back and make sure that we aren't just guessing at what people want, that really when they have the opportunity to sit back and reflect, that we're just sort of verifying that we have understood the community's priorities and are reflecting those in the budget decisions that we're making.
Councilmember Soni.
Yeah, just adding on to that same discussion, because that was also my question. The budget will impact, the different communities with their, the impact on every community segment will be different. There will be few people, those who get impacted. So when when there is a consultant and these members are participating in the budget discussions, I think getting some of those voices, as Councilmember Kritzer was mentioning, is really crucial, because if it's impacting them, then they really need to be there. Do we have a provision of providing some kind of the compensation if they have to take some time off or have to do some of these things?
We don't, no, we don't. That is prohibited.
Okay.
Councilmember Parsi?
Can you expand a little bit more on why it's prohibited, by who?
It's really kind of considered a gift of public funds. We are calling for volunteers on behalf of the community. And so it's just not something that we would fund.
You can follow up.
Can we offer, for example, childcare in return? Or would that still fall in the same category?
Yeah, any type of governmental service that we're just sort of, and don't get me wrong, volunteers, all of this is incredibly important to everything that we do. But paying our volunteers is not something that we are permitted to do.
Thank you. I will note, as part of the council retreat, there was discussion about whether we could look in the long run about being able to provide something such as childcare support or other things that would make it easier for people to be able to participate in whether, and perhaps we can look into that in the long run of whether there's kind of a broader policy or fund that we might be able to look at beyond kind of just this group.
I'll research what's currently happening, what maybe other agencies are doing, but we typically run into to roadblocks just because of the RCWs.
Great. Sounds like, yeah, it'd be great to get follow-up on that. Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you. On that same topic, I know Kirkland does some interesting things, so it might be worth looking over there to see what they do. And maybe it's as simple as we have a park program in the evening that we can have kids go to while parents volunteer. There's probably options.
I like it.
Aside from that, I just wanted to say I'm very excited about the new focus group, not new, but the different approach to the focus group model, because we do often get a lot of the same voices. So I'm very excited to see what the results of this consultant's way of thinking bring into this year's budget process. Just encouraged and excited to see what that
Thank you.
happens.
The next item on my list, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think we still had one more. Council President.
Thank you. I appreciate the information and ensuring that we're able to have a broad swath of community groups represented in the budgeting conversation. I am hesitant to support cutting off an existing way for folks to get involved. I know it's had its challenges. And we have other advisory groups throughout the city who have decreased their frequency this year. And I will just say, I personally have been out sharing with folks who are concerned that, say, PBAC has gone to just every other month frequency. Oh, there's this other opportunity I'm going to be able to connect you to, and it's going to be around the budget time. And that is a conversation I've been having with folks. So if there are ways that council can help recommend some engaged folks, that would be helpful to know. And we can save this for later, I guess, but my other kind of question was around, I didn't see any study session or committee meeting with a budgeting for equity topic, and that was a new thing we tried this last budget, and curious if we are bringing that methodology back this time.
We certainly are continuing on with our sort of lens on the city's budget that focuses on ensuring that we've got equity to city services. I can provide you with an update on that April-May timeframe of where we are. We're working closely with not only the implementation of READY, but also following, using our welcoming group within our welcoming committee within the city to help direct sort of where they think that the most impactful investments or focus could be for this biennium. So we're starting there and happy to share as that evolves.
Great, thank you so much. All right, let's move on to the next part
Quickly.
of your item.
Long-range financial strategy, this is a document that we are updating very significantly. We shared a draft with prior council in the November timeframe. Since then, we've been in the process with internal review and have made, at this point, only grammatical types of changes. At some point in the future, we will be adding the asset management approach to our strategy. We will also be adding our tourism strategy in there to help support some of the other work that we're doing. I'll be meeting with new council members between now and the April FAC to really introduce the document to them and provide them with opportunity for feedback. The most recent version of the document is available for council on the council's SharePoint site if you want to review the grammatical changes that we've made. We'll bring back sort of our final package from, just the internal review, so council will know sort of when we're done looking at it. I do propose that we keep the document in draft form until budget adoption in case there is anything that occurs during budget balancing or budget deliberations with council that would want us to update any of our policies or strategies. Fiscal policies is the next thing that is due to council. We were hoping to bring it today, but we were asked to bring in April just because of the time allowed for this afternoon. So those are on our way, and we'll give you a preview of those in April. Again, we'll hope to just keep the document open for edits until budget adoption in case there's something noted along the way that we want to change.
Thank you. Are there questions? Council President Stewart?
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to see these policies come back. This was a request to make sure that council had a chance to review these two policies prior to getting deep into the next budget. One of the things we've experienced is that we get kind of deep into a budget and then we're like, oh, we want to change this policy, but there's no time because we are racing the clock at that point. At our November 12th study session, we did have a high-level overview, but I don't think council yet had an opportunity to give detailed feedback. So I would be happy to work with council leadership and, Council Vice President Wave Kamina and the chair and the director and look for maybe a study session time that can accommodate both of these plans to have a chance to really make sure that we get a review or just work on scheduling to make sure that everyone's feeling confident that we are going to close out, say, the spring with drafts that we're really confident in moving forward if there's council interest in such.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say I'm interested, especially, I guess, as chair of this committee, because I think both this and the fiscal policies are longer discussions than we might have time for in committee, and I think are worth, especially with a lot of new council members, us making sure that we have eyes on it. We can go through, say, the presentation you linked today, and I imagine another one you'd have on the other document, and be able to kind of talk through any of those changes. So I would appreciate that, but I'll see if the rest of the council is good with us putting that on study session in an upcoming time. Seeing nodding heads, Councilmember Soni.
Just one quick question also. Will there be some kind of an evaluation tool that is shared with the council for evaluating the options and looking into the budget with a deeper lens or making choices? If we are, when we are talking about a process and some of these things, I just wanted to bring it here. Have you used any of those tools or evaluation tools in the past? No, for the budget process. So, when all these discussions are brought in front of the council, I'm just asking if there has been any evaluation tool that has been provided to the council in the past.
We do not have an evaluation tool that we utilize now.
Is there a particular evaluation tool that you had in mind, Councilmember Soni?
Usually, I've seen some of these kinds of tools in the corporates, but I haven't seen here. So I was just very curious to know if there is anything that we use it.
Well,
Yeah, it's not a problem, but I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, when we have an opportunity to meet, we can talk about sort of what your expectations are and where I believe you can kind of find the information that you would likely be looking for.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Soni. And yeah, if you do end up with any examples, feel free to send my way. I do plan to do some planning prep for the budget process with Director Cochran as well. So we can look at that as well, and hopefully you two can connect as part of that follow-up. Any other questions or comments on budget process update? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next item. All right, thank you so much, Director Cochran. The next item on the agenda is the Respect, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Program update. And Lisa Marr will present this item.
Good afternoon, Council. Excuse my voice. Assistant COO, and here to give you a very quick, ready update. I'm going to start with the welcoming team since you just heard a little bit about what I was going to update you on. So they are working on the budgeting for equity with finance, as Director Cochran mentioned, as well as they are right now analyzing kind of their responsibilities as it pertains to the READY plan, and specifically working with COO files to produce a template that creates a clear line of sight between READY Goal 3, which is the program support and the programming for READY, and how the welcoming team, in conjunction with other city staff, can move the goal forward. So their work includes reflection on the objectives, the strategies, and the tactics for the team, and the identification of a roadmap and resources needed. So those are the two things that they are focusing on right now, along with the budgeting for equity. And I foresee in the next couple months that we would have a more thorough welcoming team update for you as we bring on a new deputy, which is my next update. So I'll tell you kind of where we've been again and where I'm at as far as the hiring of the position. So this is for the Deputy Equity and Strategic Services Director. We opened it in late January, closed it in the end of the first week of February. We had 49 applications. 15 I reviewed further with 15 made it through the first review, and then I did virtual interviews with 6 of the applicants. 3 of those applicants were moved to a panel interview, and the panel chose to move 1 applicant forward. That applicant has been given an assignment, and that's related to the position, and then was presented to the director's team and did a Q&A. And then after moving that from that, they met with the welcoming team, some representatives, and they did their own interview and provided that feedback back to me, as well as then a separate interview with the executive department managers that will be directly reporting to that position. And then they provided their feedback to me. So we've had a very thorough interview process across the board of the different groups that the position will be working with. And I'm now at the very final stages of trying to confirm that. I would expect that you would hear some information and a final update on that in the next few days, and we would look to announce to the staff and the community in the next week or so. My goal then would be to bring that person for an introduction and more information to the April meeting and introduce them. And then one of the first things that we will have on the plan for that position is meeting individually with council members and the director's team, and just starting from a meet and greet place and being able to hear your thoughts and concerns of where you sit right now. And then again, be bringing more robust updates for you in the months to come after that.
Wonderful. Well, exciting progress and could be a very exciting next FAC meeting for us with our new person on board. Are there questions from the council? Councilmember Parsi.
I had a conversation with you about what you were hoping to see from accomplishments of this role, potentially. And I was curious if there is a place that we have that documented for like next 6 months to a year. What would we ideally want to see? I wasn't able to find it. If there is a kind of place that can be kind of written down or communicated, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Councilmember Parsi. I'm wondering perhaps if you have internally any things that you can share, both the job description as well as any sorts of performance measurements you'll be looking at. Would you be able to share those with us?
Sure. I don't have it with me right now, but I'm happy to send it out to you. So the job description, I can send out right away, and then we'll be looking at a 30, 60, 90, and a 6-month and 1-year plan that we'll be able to give you the high overview of the things that we'll be tackling that will include the priority items on the Ready strategic plan as well. So I will do my best. I'll get you out the job description, and then I'll do my best to get you that plan between now and the next meeting. And then we can take any questions. I'll include it in the next agenda item if we want to address that then.
Yeah, I think that would be
Does that
great,
work?
especially for the council to be able to take a look as this person's getting on board. And since these positions were added in the budgeting process as per request of the council, just to make sure that we're aligned in terms of expectation, also what we're hearing from the community, even though it is also within your jurisdiction to manage this position.
Yep, no problem.
Wonderful, thank you. Councilmember Prakriya.
Thank you, Lisa, and I'm very, very excited to meet our new staff. In addition to like a formalized understanding of what the roles were, I would love if we were able to see kind of learnings that we can take away from the hiring process for the Ready roles, because I know this is probably not going to be the last time that council that there is a role by request of council. I know we discussed a couple in our budget retreat just recently. So I would love to know how we can work with city staff to make this process go smoother in the future, whether there's more clarification that you need from us at the beginning to the extent and scope of these roles. Would love to just see some postmortem. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Forsyth.
Thanks. Just real quick, when you bring us back some of the metrics that we're looking to make sure this person is performing how we want, I would also love to see what's built in to make sure that we are setting them up for success. Because we've had this role in the past, and typically this sort of role, someone only lasts about 18 months to 2.5 years. And I just want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we are setting this person up for a successful tenure with the city.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, thank you so much for the update. We'll move on to the next item.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the 2025 to 2026 BTIP, which is the business technology. Oh no, I messed up the acronym, but it's the project update. And I believe we have Mike Marchand here to introduce this item. It's the Business Technology Investment Program. Got it. And I will ask, I think we're running a little short on time, so if we can keep this one to about 5 minutes. If council has a lot of questions, we can put it on another agenda to deep dive even more.
Absolutely. With no further ado, good afternoon again, council members. Mike Marchand. I'm here to introduce Carmen Hall to give an update of our 2025-2026 BTIP project portfolio.
Great, thank you. And thank you all for your time today. For those who haven't seen me here before or don't remember, it's a lot of stuff that goes on. I'm the PMO manager for our TIS department, so my team manages these projects. I'm here just to give a quick update on the investment portfolios. We're halfway through our biennium. In your packet, I've included a one-pager for your reference. I'm not going to go into all those projects. I just want to highlight a few of them. I've organized them by status, and I've provided the current funding level and the budget trend. So all projects are currently within budget. We have one project that we're watching the budget on, and I'll explain why in just a second. We currently have 13 projects in flight across all the divisions in TIS, 3 more in planning. We've completed 7, and we anticipate another 9 finishing by the end of the year. In the completed category, we successfully migrated all the computers in the city to the updated Windows 11 operating system with minimal impact to daily operations. This update ensures staff are using the most secure and up-to-date technical foundations for their work. We launched the Community Health Thrive dashboard, which is a public-facing site highlighting the mobile integrated health and homeless outreach programs and their impact on the community. The dashboard's available on the redmond.gov website and not only provides statistics, but also a jumping-off point for community to learn more about those programs. And lastly, we launched the first phase of the Masterworks CIP project management software in December that offers a platform for tracking and reporting of capital programs for public works. Teams are currently scoping out phase 2, which will include some additional dashboards and a simple integration with the D365 financial system. So some key projects in the current in progress category. Enterprise document management. This project will centralize our document and content storage, support retention policy enforcement, and also reduce the current amount of time spent by staff fulfilling public records requests. The first round of staff interviews is complete, and we're preparing for an RFP later this year to choose a vendor. We're updating council chambers. We're meeting and taking bids from prospective vendors to update the video wall, some things in the dais, microphones, getting a better audio-video setup for everyone. We're targeting completing this in August while meetings are on a break. A couple of things for fire. Station tones. The project is almost complete. It's delivered updates to alerting systems in fire stations 11 and 12. It supports firefighter safety and quality of life by controlling alerts to only those on call rather than all personnel. We also are giving them First Due, which is an annual inspection software. It's set to launch next quarter, and it's going to onboard fire into their own platform for scheduling, recording, managing annual building permits and inspections. That implementation also dovetails nicely with our EnerGov work and the EnerGov development platform modernization as it moves towards its service. It's going to move into a software as a service platform that will enable us to optimize workflows and permitting workflows across the city. And then lastly, our one watch project in terms of budget is the D365 Phase 2 project. This is really a program, and it contains the lingering scope that we defined from the initial launch in 2023. It includes automation of payments through KeyBank, support for budgeting processes, vendor collaboration, and there's some future items like AP automation and support for fixed assets. We're still within budget. We're monitoring carefully, and we're doing prioritization of those program items, but we have seen increases in vendor partner costs. That just have us on a watch to make sure that we're managing that budget well. And then finally, you'll see at the bottom of the sheet, there are a few projects that we have not started due to resource constraints and some competing priorities. So we're working closely with the sponsoring departments to make sure those projects are scheduled and determining the priority for getting those on the books. So as we look ahead to the remainder of the year, we're going to continue to be good stewards of public funds and deliver these new capabilities. I think I kept it under my 5 minutes, which is amazing. Thanks for the opportunity to review this all with you. We'll see you later in the year as we start to shift our focus onto the next biennium and start talking about what's coming up in 27 and beyond.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the council? Councilmember Nueva Camina.
Hey, thank you. That was a great overview of that list.
Thank you.
Very, very well done. A quick question on the D365 implementation.
Yeah.
Since that one is the one that we're watching, and that's also our largest budget item that we've got listed in this list right now. So even a smaller percentage swing could have a significant impact. Do we have any idea about like what percentage swing that we could be looking at on that?
We saw about a 7% increase in the vendor costs. And, oh, we got really loud for a second. And I'm going to back up so I'm not yelling at you all. And the initial budgeting was done sort of by swag. We had some very high-level estimates. I would still expect somewhere between 5 to 10%, or we look at rescoping the project completely.
And the reason why I bring that up is because there are other projects where they are considerably below that, and then looking at the four that are at the bottom that have yet to move forward, because we do have some competing priorities. So
Yeah. The interest, going in, we decided, working with Director Cochran, this is her kind of delivering on her behalf. We went in and decided we weren't going to come and ask more money. We were going to do prioritization of items. We've actually dropped a couple out of the program. So although there is a risk, there seems to be good funds available for that. My crystal ball lately has been broken, so I can't say that we won't come ask for something, but I'm not seeing a huge swing. And we definitely are looking at all the options to control cost and control scope for those kinds of projects.
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Prakriya.
Thank you so much for the overview. This is awesome. I'm sorry, I totally missed which contract referred, you mentioned one of them is looking into automating permitting processes. Which one was that again?
Our EnerGov project, it's probably about halfway down on your sheet, and it's called the EnerGov Development Program Platform Modernization. EnerGov is our permitting software across the city. We were challenged with looking at permitting processes across the city in general, getting them in line so that you didn't have a different experience depending on which kind of permit you were getting. And one of the challenges we found was that fire and their annual inspection and those permits had been shoehorned in there a bit. So by moving them onto their own platform that's meant to support their business, it really opens us up to be able to do that process improvement work.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm not seeing other questions, so I think we'll close out this item, but look forward to continuing to hear some updates from you as we go forward, and look forward to the next BTIP.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda, we're going to stick with Director Marchand, and it's the last item on our agenda, which is the Data Governance Program update. Take it away.
Thank you once again, council members. Introducing EDM and GIS Manager Melissa Brady to give an update on our data governance program.
And I'm just going to note, council members, we are about 2 minutes before the end of the scheduled meeting time. Is everyone good to go over? I know this wasn't a priority topic for the council. Great. Go ahead.
Awesome. So good afternoon, Council. My name is Melissa Brady, and as Director Marchand mentioned, I'm the city's Enterprise Data and GIS Manager. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide a brief update on the city's data governance program. The last time we met, which would have been, I believe, January of last year, Council approved a consulting agreement for us to go out and conduct a governance assessment and strategy for the city. Tonight, I will provide a short overview of what we learned from the assessment. The areas we are going to focus on moving forward, progress the city has made to date, and our next steps in strengthening how the city manages and uses data. So first off, we did complete in 2025 a current state assessment of data governance practices across the city. The assessment included reviewing existing data processes and practices against industry best practices. We also evaluated the city's overall data governance maturity. We interviewed leaders from each of the departments. We reviewed key data systems and major data domains used by the city. We identified data-related challenges and opportunities. And finally, we developed a roadmap for outlining future governance capabilities and priorities. This work provided a clear understanding of where we were currently and where we wanted to go. The assessment helped us understand again, how we are currently managing the data and what opportunities are out there to improve that. Across the departments, there were several themes that emerged. These included opportunities to strengthen how we protect and retain sensitive data, how we could improve how departments share information across systems, clarifying ownership of key data sets, expanding training and standard practices for working with data, making city data easier to find and understand, and to continue to improve data quality while reducing manual processes and duplicate work. So quite the laundry list of things that we could improve. So our future program plans on focusing on 6 key areas. The first one is the data governance operating model. Here we need to establish a stewardship framework, governance structure, and departmental data stewards to ensure accountability and coordination across the city. The second focus area is on data sharing and access. We will work to improve how departments securely share and access trusted data across systems. Data classification and sensitivity is another focus area for us. We need to implement consistent data classification and protection standards based on data sensitivity and risk. Metadata and data catalog. We need to develop a centralized catalog and inventory and metadata standards to make sure that data is easier to discover, understand, and then ultimately trust. Data literacy and training is a very important component also. We need to make sure that we're providing staff training and guidance to support consistent data practices. And finally, we're going to focus on our data platform, so the technology behind it, strengthen our integrations between the systems, and support further centralized reporting and analytics. So what have we accomplished to date besides the current assessment? We have a number of key accomplishments. The first is we have established a data governance council. The council is made up of representation from every department across the city. We have developed, along with the council, our governance council and our consultant, a number of draft operational governance policies, standards, and guidelines. These documents include items such as our overarching enterprise data governance, data stewardship, data access and sharing, metadata standard, data architecture standard, and data classification guideline. We've initiated a data governance literacy program to help staff understand their role in managing and protecting city data. And finally, we've developed a standardized onboarding process to ensure data sets are documented and governed consistently. So moving forward, we need to move from framework and documentation to implementation. So the next phase focuses on applying these documents that we've created to a couple of data sets to run them through the process. So we're going to be piloting the data onboarding process with selected data sets. This will give us an opportunity to test our governance processes and standards in real operational scenarios. We'll then refine those processes based on staff feedback and the implementation results. After that, we will expand these stewardship practices across additional departments and data sets. This approach allows us to implement governance thoughtfully, ensure that processes are practical, and are meeting our expectations for results. There's a number of long-term benefits for the city, and the things I'll list here are nothing that you haven't heard before. But strengthening our data governance will help the city improve the reliability and consistency of our data, reduce redundant work and manual data process, improve collaboration, again, strengthen security and responsible management of sensitive data, and support modern analytics. The value to the city and the community: strong data governance helps ensure the city can deliver services more efficiently, make informed policy and investment decisions, improve transparency and accountability, support long-term planning and growth, and protect residents and city information. Ultimately, the data governance work helps the city use data more effectively to serve the Redmond community. Thank you, and are there any questions?
Thank you. And I see there are several questions. So I will note that it may be that we're going to also want to look for some more time for this item as well. But we'll start with Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. Welcome back. And also thank you for the work that's been going on around this. Much appreciated. I would love to see some of these things because there were like 6 focus areas that you shared with us. But something that we've got, and towards the end, you had mentioned one of the reasons why this is so important is because of transparency. But having something documented so that we can point back to, typically we might see a presentation deck or some type of outline of it. So we can go back and say, okay, these are the 6 focus areas that they took a look at. This was the really great work that they did, and these are the reasons why. Rather than, I really hope that I was taking impeccable notes during that time, so that when I'm reporting out to residents, community members, constituents, that I have something to go back to, and not just, I really hope that I was taking accurate notes that day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Parsi.
Thank you. To continue what you asked for, I would love to see more than a presentation deck. I would love to see all the artifacts that were created so we can kind of be transparent with the public and be very clear about what data we're collecting, how we're collecting it, what's the retention policy, and all the things that you mentioned, sharing access, all of that. The second component of what I wanted to hear is that I didn't hear much on enforcement of what we kind of policies that we put in place. I would love to see a strong enforcement in place so that we can make sure that the policies are being followed through. And that's a very difficult thing. I've worked at Microsoft, different places. We have a security team that makes sure that enforcement happens. And it is that we learn a lot through that verification process. So that's a critical area to me. And then finally, I see that this was requested last January, a year ago. I don't know what we can do, but this is at least a priority to me to make sure that we move on this quickly. So I would love to know what we can do to support kind of a speedy follow through on this.
Thank you so much. Director Marchand, can you give us an idea of the timeline in which the council will be seeing the written products of the assessment as well as the data governance strategy?
Absolutely. So we're currently tracking, I think it's 3rd quarter or early 4th quarter this year to have some final completed work material. So we do have draft documents and processes in place, but as Melissa mentioned, they need to go through and actually test them and make sure that they actually are appropriate for the organization. So once we finish that process, finalize them, and get them to a place where they're presentable, then we absolutely will be bringing them forward. So.
Is there any pieces that you could bring to the council sooner, just so that way we can track on some of the things that were mentioned?
Sure, we can go back and review the materials, and as Councilmember Nueva Camina mentioned, we could probably send a list of the different focus areas at the very minimum that we were working on, and then look for some project artifacts that we could bring forward as well.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling both overwhelmed and underwhelmed all at the same time, so I don't know how you did that. Because you covered a lot, but I'm also not seeing anything tangible. I also don't want to get us into a situation where we're exposing ourselves to something because we're sharing documentation that we're not quite ready for public consumption yet. So I fully appreciate the crux of where we're at. But that said, would love to see a study session earlier so that if there are any policies that we can work on sooner rather than later, that we can get a jump on that, since this is a top priority for our council. Thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
I think there were hands over here. And Councilmember Precria.
Thank you. In addition to what my colleagues have mentioned, one other thing that I would like to see are frameworks of thinking. So, for example, how we came to these 6 points. Another thing is, I feel like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are many, many other cities out there, many cities far larger than Redmond, that have to deal with, because of the combinatorics, exponentially larger amounts of data than the city of Redmond. And I would love to know if there are any models that we can pull from those other cities that we can use to serve as benchmark standards for the city of Redmond's data governance policy.
So to spearhead this project last year, we did hire a vendor, CentralLogic, who has vast experience in this data governance world. And we did use, and I don't have it right with me today, but we did use benchmarks of a lot of neighboring cities, regional cities, national cities, as well as a number of frameworks. So we didn't start from scratch. We did try to leverage kind of the best that we found out there that was applicable to a city of our size. And I think when we get an opportunity to share some of those documents with you, you'll see that.
Council President Stewart.
Thank you so much. We would love to see the materials, as has been mentioned. So thank you so much for this update, and this is a council priority. I find relief in hearing that every single department is represented in this work in some way, because we, quite frankly, in this space and at this table, we are reviewing contracts from nearly every department, and more we are paying attention to what are the data concerns in those contracts and service agreements. We had one just earlier today in this committee. I think maybe to build on in some of the direction that Councilmember Forsyth was going is, not only is it really important to me that you all are able to conclude this work and have a clear path forward, but that also we can be understood by the time a contract comes to the council, what's the screening that's already taken place? What's the good work we know has already happened, and where might there be lingering questions related to data governance that the council needs to tackle? So I do think that there's an intersection there that is going to matter a lot as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. If there are no other questions, appreciate the update here, and I can work with council leadership to identify if we want to bring this back sooner as a FAC item or whether we'll be looking at study session time, and hopefully I can follow up with you, Director Marchand, to be able to figure out kind of the best path forward for additional touches before we see kind of those completed materials as well in Q3, if that sounds good.
Absolutely.
And I'll just note, I think tonight we have a study session item that relates to this as well. So we'll look forward to having your participation and seeing any connections between, as we know, we made kind of some of the data governance policies for our police technology, knowing that we were going to have this bigger comprehensive strategy that was going to be coming. So I will also be interested in our future conversations on continuing that discussion of how do we integrate that, and even what can we learn from what you have been doing to be able to strengthen potentially some of those particular policies we'll be discussing tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. If there's nothing for good of the order, this meeting is adjourned.